I am addicted to work, and honestly, it is the best addiction that you can have. Because, like, I used to be addicted to other cheap dopamine sources, like video games, for example, or Netflix, or even weed. And those addictions were really, really harmful, and it didn't get me like anything. But now the work part, like, it's the rewards of it are real. And if you're addicted to it, you want to do it like the whole day, every day. And that is how you can get those exponential results. Because, like, if you're obsessed, if you're addicted, then you can work much harder, much more effortlessly than other people, for example. And the way I did it is simply because of this. Like, what you have to understand is that this is you. And your brain is looking for outlets, like whenever you feel bad or something like that, or whenever something happens, or whenever you feel tired or don't feel well, your brain is looking for certain outlets. And that could be many different things, like we talked about. It could be YouTube, it could be games, and it could be drugs. Alcohol is also a drug, by the way. But it is only an socially accepted drug. So we call it alcohol, but basically it is a drug. So your brain looks for different kinds of outlets, and that is normal. And you don't have to change like how your brain works, because like that is impossible, because that is just how your brain works. But what we can do is we can block these outlets. So here. And basically what happens is that energy has to go somewhere, because like energy cannot be created nor destroyed, it can only be transmuted. So if you block these outlets, you can't just let it sit there, because it will find a way. Like, same as like water, when it flows down a mountain, for example, even when you try to block it, it will go around. Basically, it will always go somewhere. So when you are experiencing a negative emotion or something like that, and you want to scroll social media or do one of these things, for example, like, really say, okay, I'm not going to do that. The only outlet you can have is work. And basically this works like amazingly well, because you're able to spend all of your energy, all of your brain power, the problem solving machine that your brain is, you can spend it towards your business. And you can use basically business as a coping mechanism, because like, if you block these, it has to go somewhere. And also the reason why this is so incredibly like powerful is the following. And this is why you really get addicted to it. Because what you have to understand is your brain is not objective, it is relative. So it always like compares to basically what happens. So let's say, for example, I find, and this is honestly true, now I find work more stimulating than video games or drugs. Weed, like example. So and then you can say, oh yeah, but like that is not for me the case. But it is for you the case. And this is let me explain. So when, for example, you are yes, so for example, here you're playing games. And what do you do when you're not playing video games? Well, then you're watching YouTube, for example. So when you're playing games and when you're playing YouTube, so that this is like, okay, so this is like the graph, for example. This here is the not stimulating, not stimulating, and right here is stimulating. So the discrepancy, the difference between YouTube and video games, if YouTube is not stimulating and video games is stimulating, this difference is not that big. But when you, for example, are doing absolutely nothing, so you block all of these outlets and you don't have to do the work, because I think forcing yourself to do something is a bad way to go about it, because like life always happens and you can't just force anything. But what you can do is you give yourself two options. And one option is do absolutely nothing at all, like literally just sit in your chair and look at the wall, like straight ahead of you. And the other thing is work. Because if you do nothing, and when you do nothing and when you do the work, you see where I'm going with this? This discrepancy, the difference between nothing at all and the work, is huge. So like before, a year ago, I used to play video games, and when I wasn't playing video games, I was watching YouTube, but that difference was not that big. So it didn't feel that stimulating, because again, your brain is relative, it is not objective. And right here, right now, what I'm doing is I'm either working or I'm doing nothing at all, and I just meditate or I take a walk, for example. Then the work is way more stimulating than doing absolutely nothing. So that is why work now to me feels more stimulating than video games used to be. And this is basically incredibly powerful, because so you just like try it for like 30 days. So give yourself two options. One is work. Two is do nothing. Either work or do nothing at all. And what you will start to notice is that your brain hates this. Like there was an experiment. I didn't know exactly, but there was this experiment where they would put people inside of a room with absolutely nothing to do. The only thing that was in the room was a button on the wall, and if they pressed it, they would electrocute themselves. And what they noticed is that like a third of the people or something like that, they would rather press the button and electrocute themselves than being bored. But and that is like how strong this is. So your brain wants to do anything but being bored. But boredom is not a bad thing. That is also what you have to understand. Because like now I feel like the lack of boredom is one of the biggest problem in today's world, because all of the kids who are constantly like every 2 minutes, or not even 2 minutes, like every 10 seconds that they don't have to do, or that they don't have to do anything. Like when they wait, for example, they instantly grab their phone and they basically like scroll social media or something or get distracted. But if you take boredom away, then you take the stimulating things also away. So your life will become very boring and mundane. Like this is, if there is no boredom, then there is also no stimulation, as I showed you before with the doing nothing in the work or the video games and the YouTube, for example. So boredom is actually a good thing, and this is the perspective that you have to adopt, because the like and this is the same with a lot of things in life. This is a really important point, because like if there weren't bad days, for example, if you always felt great, then you didn't feel always great, because that would become the new norm, and you would basically the great part would also feel bad. So light can only be defined in reference to darkness. There is only light if there is darkness. And the same thing with life and death, for example, because most people fear death, but if there wouldn't be death, then there also wouldn't be light. This is the non-duality principle from the Eastern philosophy. Won't go too far in depth of it. I think this is enough for now, but that is why boredom is incredibly important. So if you give yourself no other option than to either work or do nothing at all, then you get like then you get really like addicted to your work. Then you really love your work because it is relative. So yeah, either do this. One final thing I want to mention is that what I used to tell myself is that once everything is going well, I told myself I deserved some rest. But rest doesn't mean stimulation. It is the absolute opposite. So if you want to rest, like take a walk, for example, or read a book, do something that is not as stimulating as watching videos, as scrolling on social media, as doing things like that. Like the nothing part, okay, like the non-stimulating things are also allowed. So reading a book, for example, or take a walk. Just not do anything that is stimulating. So yeah, bye.